Watch as a decorated war hero faces off against ruthless mobsters who picked the wrong 90-year-old farmer to intimidate at a small-town market. Will this Medal of Honor recipient's military past and unexpected connections be enough to save not just himself, but everyone under the mob's growing threat? I never thought I'd face death again at 90 years old. Not here, not at this peaceful farmer's market where I've sold my vegetables every Sunday for 30 years. But life has a way of finding you, no matter how far you run from your past. My hands shake slightly as I arrange the tomatoes I picked at dawn. It's not the arthritis. It's the men in black suits walking between the stalls. 3 of them, moving with purpose, stopping at each vendor. Old Mrs. Wilson next door looks frightened as they approach her flower stand. "Good morning, ma'am," the tallest one says, his smile all wrong. "Beautiful flowers. I'm Frank Torino. My associates and I are offering protection services to vendors in this area." Mrs. Wilson clutches her cardigan. Protection? From what? The shorter, muscular one, I later learn his name is Marco, knocks over a bucket of sunflowers. Accidents happen, you know. Fires. Vandalism. Theft. I watch Mrs. Wilson's face crumple as she reaches for her cash box with trembling fingers. She's been a widow for 12 years. Lives alone with her cats. Those flowers pay her heating bill. My chest tightens. I know these types. Before I was Farmer Joe Sullivan, I was Sergeant Sullivan. I've seen bullies in every corner of the world. "That's just a starter payment," Frank says, pocketing Mrs. Wilson's money. "We'll be back next week. Rates might go up, might go down, depends how business goes." They move on to Bob's honey stand. Same routine. Bob looks at his grandkids helping him, then reluctantly pays. I touch my chest where my Medal of Honor rests beneath my flannel shirt. I never wear it. Too many questions, too many memories of Korea I'd rather forget. But I never go anywhere without it. My lucky charm, though there's nothing lucky about how I earned it. The market manager, Tim, approaches the men, looking nervous. "Excuse me, gentlemen, I don't think you've registered as vendors." Frank places a heavy hand on Tim's shoulder. "We're not vendors. We're businessmen. Unless you want this nice market to experience some unfortunate troubles, you'll forget you saw us." Tim's face pales. He looks around, but the 2 police officers who usually patrol the market are nowhere to be seen. The third man, youngest, nervous eyes, keeps checking his phone, writes something in a small notebook. "That's 18 vendors," he tells Frank, "plus the market manager." "Good work, Vinny," Frank says. "We'll double our territory by next month at this rate." My hands grip the edge of my table. 18 vendors. Honest, hardworking people. Many of them elderly like me, trying to supplement fixed incomes. Some young families just starting out. The men are 3 stalls away now. Mrs. Chun from the farm next to mine is next. Her daughter Amy just started college, first in their family. Mrs. Chun works sunrise to sunset to pay those tuition bills. I fought in a war to protect people like her. Now I'm supposed to watch these thugs take her money? Frank notices me watching, makes eye contact, smiles slowly. I straighten my back despite the pain. My combat days are long behind me. But not everything I learned in Korea has faded with age. "Sullivan, don't," whispers Rachel from the cheese stand across from me. She's seen my expression change. "They're dangerous." Frank and his boys reach Mrs. Chin's vegetable stand. She's confused, her English limited. They're growing impatient. "Money," Marco says loudly, making a cash gesture. "Protection money. Pay up." Mrs. Chun shakes her head, not understanding, clutching her cash box. Marco reaches for it. "I'll just help myself then." My feet move before my brain decides. Suddenly I'm there, my gnarled hand on Marco's arm. "The lady doesn't understand what you're selling," I say quietly. "And neither do I." Marco looks at my hand like it's a strange insect. "Take your hand off me, old man, before I break it." Frank steps forward, curious. "Hold on, Marco." He studies me. "What's your name, Pops?" "Joe Sullivan." "Well, Mr. Sullivan, we're providing an important service here. Insurance, you might call it. Against bad things happening." I don't let go of Marco's arm. "Sounds like you're the bad things." Frank laughs, but his eyes remain cold. "You've got spirit for an old-timer. I respect that." He gestures to Marco, who yanks his arm free. We'll circle back to you. They move on, but Frank glances back at me. I made an impression. Not the good kind. Mrs. Chun touches my arm. Thank you, Mr. Joe. But why you do this? They come back, yes. Don't worry. I tell her, though worry is exactly what I'm feeling. It'll be okay. Back at my stand, I notice my hands are steady now. Funny how facing danger can calm the tremors of age. Rachel hurries over. Joe, you've got to call the police. And say what? They didn't steal anything from me. It's my word against theirs. They're extorting people. I know what they're doing. I've seen worse. Much worse. But we need evidence. The morning continues. I sell tomatoes and cucumbers. Act normal. But I watch as Frank and his goons complete their circuit of the market. Some pay. Some argue, but eventually pay. A few, like me, they skip, marking us, I suspect, for special attention later. At noon, they leave. The market feels different. Tainted. Tim calls an emergency meeting after closing. 30 worried faces in the community hall. Some want to pay, stay safe. Others want to fight back. Nobody knows how. I've called the police, Tim says. They said without evidence of actual threats or violence, there's little they can do. We should close the market, someone suggests. Just for a while. This market feeds my family, Mrs. Chun protests. I cannot close. I sit quietly, turning my worn cap in my hands. There was a time when I led men into battle. Now I'm just an old farmer with bad knees. What about you, Joe? Tim asks. You stood up to them. Any ideas? All eyes turn to me. I clear my throat. When I was a young man, I begin slowly. I learned something about bullies. They pick targets they think won't fight back. You suggesting we fight back against those gangsters? Bob asks incredulously. They'll kill us. Not with fists, I say. With something they don't expect. Rachel leans forward. What's that, Joe? I look around at these people. My neighbors, my friends. I've kept to myself for decades. Kept my past buried. But maybe it's time to dig it up. I might know someone who can help. I say finally. Someone in the state government. You know someone in government? Tim looks skeptical. They all do. They know me as the quiet tomato farmer, not as Sergeant Sullivan. From another life. I reply. No promises, but I'll make a call tonight. As the meeting breaks up, I feel a familiar tightness in my chest. Not my heart acting up, though at 90, that's always a possibility. No, this is the feeling I had before missions. The weight of responsibility. Walking to my truck, I notice a black sedan parked across the street. Too shiny for this rural area. The windows are tinted, but I feel eyes watching me. I drive home slowly, checking my rearview mirror. The sedan follows at a distance. Message received. At my farmhouse, I sit on the porch until sunset, waiting to see if they'll approach. They don't. Just drive by slowly once, twice, making sure I know they know where I live. Inside, I open my closet. Behind my flannel shirts is a locked box I haven't opened in years. The key is on my keychain, a reminder of who I used to be. Inside the box is a phone number I've never called, a direct line to Lieutenant Governor Davis. We served together in Korea. He owes me his life. I've never collected on that debt. Until now. I dial the number, wondering if it still works after all these years. How will I explain that I need his help because some gangsters are threatening a farmer's market? Will he even remember who I am? The phone rings once, twice. What if he doesn't answer? What if these mobsters come back next week and hurt someone? Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Chun, Rachel, none of them deserve this. But what can one old man do against organized criminals who've clearly been running this scheme for years? On the fourth ring, someone picks up. Davis residence. I take a deep breath. This is Sergeant Joe Sullivan. I need to speak with the Lieutenant Governor. It's urgent. I clutch the phone tighter, heart racing as the woman on the other end hesitates. Sergeant Sullivan? From Korea? Yes, ma'am. One moment, please. The silence stretches. Through my window, I spot the black sedan cruising past my farm again. These guys don't waste time. Joe Sullivan. The voice that comes on the line is older but unmistakable. My God, it's been, 50 years? Closer to 70, sir. A pause. 70. Hard to believe. He clears his throat. What can I do for you, Joe? You must have a damn good reason for calling this number after all this time. I explained the situation at the farmer's market. The extortion, the threats, the vulnerable people caught in the middle. Organized crime moving into rural areas, Davis sighs. It's happening all over the state. But Joe, I'm not sure what you expect me to do. This is a police matter. The local police say their hands are tied without evidence. And they're right. Look, I can make some calls, but... Sir, I interrupt. Something I'd never have done in the service. You're visiting our county next week for that agricultural funding announcement. These men will be back at our market Sunday. Same day. Silence again. Then, you're suggesting I make a personal appearance at your farmer's market? Your security detail would make these gangsters think twice. And if they don't, well, maybe your people see something worth investigating. Davis chuckles. Still the strategist, Joe. Even after all these years. His voice turns serious. What aren't you telling me? This isn't just about some market vendors, is it? I close my eyes, remembering frozen mountains and the endless night of the Korean winter. These people are my neighbors, my friends. They're being threatened, and I can't, my voice catches. I can't stand by and do nothing. Not again. Again? Joe, you saved 16 men that night, including me. Nobody calls that nothing. 17 went in, 16 came out. I hear him sigh heavily. I'll be there Sunday. But Joe, be careful until then. These aren't North Korean soldiers. They're businessmen. They calculate risks. Don't make yourself a liability. After hanging up, I sit in my darkened living room, thinking, Davis is right. These men aren't soldiers. They're worse. No code of honor. No rules of engagement. A noise outside startles me. Footsteps on my porch. I move carefully to the window, joints protesting. Two shadows. Marco and Vinny. Nice place, Marco says loudly, looking around my porch. Remote. Peaceful. Boss wants to talk to you, Vinny adds, lighting a cigarette. Special invitation. I open the door before they can knock. Kind of late for visitors. Marco smiles, all teeth. Mr. Sullivan. Sorry to disturb your evening. Our boss was impressed by you today. Not impressed enough to leave us alone. Business is business, Vinny shrugs. But Mr. Torino thinks you and him could come to an understanding. He's waiting in the car. I glance toward the black sedan idling in my driveway. Tell your boss if he wants to talk. He can come to my door like a man. Marco's smile vanishes. That wasn't a request, old-timer. My hand tightens on my walking stick. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. I'm 90 years old, I say calmly. My bedtime was 2 hours ago. Whatever your boss wants to discuss can wait until Sunday. Vinny steps forward. Listen, Gramps. No, you listen. Something in my voice makes him pause. I've faced down worse than you, son. Much worse. Now get off my property before I call the state police and report you for trespassing. Marco laughs. State police? For trespassing? They won't be here for hours. Maybe not, I concede. But I've got a shotgun that'll keep me company until they arrive. The mood shifts. They glance at each other. Boss isn't going to like this, Vinny mutters. Your boss can visit me in daylight, I reply. Like a respectable businessman. As if on cue, the sedan's door opens. Frank Torino steps out, adjusting his expensive suit. He walks unhurriedly to my porch, his shoes crunching on the gravel. Mr. Sullivan, he says smoothly. I apologize for the late hour. May we come inside? Just for a moment. I stand my ground. Whatever you have to say, you can say it here. Frank sighs. Very well. I'll be direct. You caused a problem today. Made me look bad in front of my men. In front of the other vendors. You were doing fine looking bad all by yourself. His smile tightens. Funny. I like a man with humor. The smile vanishes. But I don't like interference. Those people pay because they understand the world. Bad things happen. People need protection. From you. From whoever comes along. That's business. He studies me. You're different from the others. Military, I'm guessing. I say nothing. Korean War, maybe? That would put you about the right age. Frank moves closer. My grandfather fought in Korea. Came back with nightmares. Never talked about it. Smart man. The point is, Mr. Sullivan, I respect service. So I'm offering you a special arrangement. You pay nothing. Your stand is protected, free of charge. In return, you mind your own business when we visit the market. I look at him steadily. And if I don't? Frank shrugs. Things get difficult. For everyone, especially the more vulnerable vendors. The old Chinese lady, for instance, or the widow with the flowers. My jaw tightens, threatening elderly women. You must be very proud. It's not a threat. It's reality. He pulls out a business card, places on my porch railing. Think about it. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable. They leave, the sedan's tires spinning gravel. I remain on the porch long after they're gone, watching the darkness, feeling a familiar coldness settle in my bones. Inside, I retrieve my old military trunk from under the bed. The lock is stiff and used for decades. Inside are my discharge papers, photos, medals, and my service pistol. I lift it carefully, checking the chamber. Empty, of course. The ammunition is separate, wrapped in cloth. I haven't fired this weapon since 1953, but my hands remember its weight. Its purpose, I set aside. Violence should be the last resort, not the first. I learned that the hard way. Instead, I pull out a photo. Lieutenant Davis and me, arms around each other's shoulders, mountains of Korea behind us. Young men with old eyes. On impulse, I pin my Medal of Honor to my pajama shirt. The weight of it is familiar, disturbing. I sleep fitfully, dreaming of ice and blood and the sound of Chinese bugles in the darkness. Morning comes with rain, heavy, persistent. I do my chores slowly, feeding the chickens, checking my greenhouse tomatoes. My old dog Rusty follows me, sensing my mood. At noon, I drive to the diner in town. Sunday's still 3 days away. I need information. Sheriff Jenkins is there, as always. 30 years on the job, close to retirement. We've never been friends, but we understand each other. Joe, he nods as I slide into his booth. Rare to see you in town midweek. Need to talk, Tom, about some new visitors to the farmer's market. He sets down his coffee. The Torino outfit. You know them. Know of them. They started in the city, moved to the suburbs. Now they're working small towns. Protection rackets, loan sharking, maybe worse. And you're letting them? Jenkins frowns. Don't start, Joe. We don't have the manpower or the jurisdiction. FBI's building a case, but these guys are careful. They know exactly how far to push without crossing federal lines. They threaten Mrs. Chun, Mrs. Wilson. Threats aren't crimes until they're specific, and victims need to report them. He leans forward. These people intimidate, Joe. Nobody wants to be the one who talks. What if someone did? Jenkins studies me. Someone like you? He shakes his head. They'd make an example of you. I'm 90 years old. Not much they can do to me that time won't do anyway. Don't be naive. They won't just come after you. Jenkins pushes his plate away. I heard you stood up to them yesterday. Careful, Joe. These aren't war zone enemies you can see coming. They'll hit you where it hurts. I think about Mrs. Chun, about Amy at college, about all the vulnerable people at the market. Lieutenant Governor Davis is coming Sunday, I say quietly. To the market. Jenkins's eyebrows rise. Davis? Why? Old friend. Since when do you have friends in high places? I don't answer. Jenkins knows I served, but not where or how. Tom, I say instead, if something happens Sunday, if these men show up while Davis is there, would that be enough? Jenkins looks troubled. Maybe. But Joe, you're playing a dangerous game. Torino's not stupid. He'll figure out you're setting him up. I'm counting on it. As I leave the diner, rain soaking my jacket, I spot Vinny sitting in a parked car across the street. Not even trying to hide. Sending a message. I walk straight to his car, tap on the window. He rolls it down, surprised. Tell your boss I want to talk, I say. Tonight, the diner. 7 o'clock. Vinny hesitates. I'll pass it along. You do that. I drive home, aware that my hands are shaking again. Not from age this time. From anger and fear. Not for myself, but for what might happen to the others if my plan fails. At my farm, I call Davis again. Sunday's still on, he assures me. I've arranged extra security. Plain clothes. But Joe, what exactly are you hoping will happen? I'm hoping they'll see your security and decide our market isn't worth the trouble. And if they don't, I watch rain streak my windows. Then they'll do something stupid in front of witnesses who matter. After hanging up, I retrieve my Medal of Honor from the bedroom. Hold in my palm. President Truman had placed it around my neck. Above and beyond, he'd said. That night was still clear in my memory. The patrol ambushed. Chinese troops everywhere. The desperate fight to the extraction point. Carrying Davis the last mile, both of us half dead from cold and wounds. One medal. 16 men saved. One left behind. I placed the medal in my pocket, feeling its weight like a stone. At 6:30, I drive back to town. The diner is nearly empty. A couple of teenagers in one booth, an elderly couple in another. No sign of Frank or his men. I choose a booth with a clear view of both entrances, order coffee. I don't touch. 7 o'clock comes and goes. 7:15, 7:30. At 7:45, the bell over the door jingles. Frank enters alone, scanning the diner before spotting me. He takes his time, stopping to chat with the waitress, complimenting the elderly couple on their matching sweaters. Finally, he slides into my booth. "Mr. Sullivan, this is unexpected. Thank you for coming. Vinny said you were quite insistent." Frank studies me. "Change of heart about our arrangement?" "Something like that." I lean forward. "I want you to leave the market alone. Find another territory." Frank's eyebrows rise. Straight to the point. "I appreciate that." He signals the waitress for coffee. "But I'm afraid that's not possible. We've already established ourselves. Customers have paid for protection. They paid because they were scared. That's how the world works." He shrugs. "Fear motivates. Always has." I reach into my pocket, place my Medal of Honor on the table between us. Frank glances at it, unimpressed. "What's this supposed to be?" "Medal of Honor. Korea. 1953. That's supposed to scare me, old man." "No. It's supposed to help you understand who you're dealing with." I meet his gaze steadily. "When I was 22, I killed 12 men in one night. Not because I wanted to, because I had to save my unit." Frank's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. "Lieutenant Governor Davis was there." I continue. "He's visiting our market Sunday with his security detail. His very large, very professional security detail. Is that a threat, Mr. Sullivan?" "It's a reality. The reality is you picked the wrong market, the wrong town, the wrong old man." Frank sips his coffee, considering. "You're bluffing. The lieutenant governor isn't coming to some backwater farmer's market." I slide my phone across the table. On it is a text message from Davis, confirming Sunday's visit. Frank reads it, his face hardening. "This changes nothing," he says finally. "Politicians come and go. We're building something permanent here. Not in my town." Frank's smile is cold. "Your town? You're just one old man, living alone on a rundown farm. No family, no real friends. Just a handful of frightened vendors who'll forget you the minute we put pressure on them." He's done his research, I'll give him that. "Perhaps," I concede. "But I've faced worse than you and survived. Can you say the same?" Frank stands, adjusting his suit. "Sunday, then. We'll see who's bluffing." He pauses. "A word of advice, Mr. Sullivan. Men like us, we understand how the world really works. The strong take what they want." I remain seated. "That's where you're wrong. Real strength isn't taking. It's protecting those who can't protect themselves." Noble words. His smile never reaches his eyes. "Let's see how much comfort they bring you when your friends at the market pay the price for your stubbornness." As he leaves, I feel a cold certainty settle over me. Sunday is coming, and with it, a confrontation I can't predict. But one thing is clear. These men won't back down easily, and neither will I. The waitress refills my untouched coffee. "Everything okay, Mr. Sullivan?" I nod, picking up my medal from the table. "Just fine, Clara. Just fine." But my hand trembles slightly as I place the medal back in my pocket, and I wonder if I've just made everything much, much worse. I sit alone in my darkened farmhouse, the weight of my old service pistol heavy in my hands. Never thought I'd touch it again. The cold metal brings back memories I've tried to forget for decades. Screams in the darkness. The smell of gunpowder mixing with blood on frozen ground. I set it down carefully on the kitchen table. The phone call I made to Lieutenant Governor Davis keeps playing in my mind. Will he really come through? It's been almost 70 years since Korea. Since that night, I carried him through enemy territory, both of us half dead from wounds and frostbite. I saved his life. Now I'm calling in that debt. My dog Rusty lifts his head suddenly, ears perked. A low growl builds in his throat. Headlights sweep across my front windows as a car pulls into my long driveway. "Easy, boy," I whisper, slipping the pistol into my bathrobe pocket. "No bullets. I'm not that far gone yet. But they don't need to know that." I ease myself to the window, joints protesting. The familiar black sedan sits idling about 50 yards from my house. Too far to see who's inside, just close enough to let me know I'm being watched. The clock reads 11:30 p.m. 2 days since I confronted Frank Torino at the diner. 2 days of being followed wherever I go. 2 more days until Sunday's market. The phone rings, startling both me and Rusty. At this hour, it can't be good news. "Hello," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mr. Sullivan." Frank's smooth voice slithers through the receiver. "I hope I'm not disturbing your sleep. What do you want?" "Just checking in. Making sure you're reconsidering our conversation. Sunday's approaching fast." I watch the sedan through my window. "You didn't need to call. Your boys have been following me for days." Frank chuckles. "Just keeping an eye on a valued community member. Safety first, right? Is that why they've been parked outside Mrs. Chen's house tonight, too?" A brief silence. Then, "You're well informed for a man who supposedly lives alone. Small towns. People talk. Indeed they do." His voice hardens. "They're talking about you, Mr. Sullivan. About how you're putting everyone at risk with your stubbornness. The market manager called me today. He's worried about what might happen Sunday." My grip tightens on the receiver. "Tim called you. He's concerned about potential disruptions to business, as are several other vendors." My heart sinks. They're turning against me already. Fear works fast. "What do you want, Frank?" I ask again. "The same thing I've always wanted. A peaceful business arrangement. But now I need something else too." He pauses. "Cancel your friend's visit." So he knows about Davis coming. I shouldn't be surprised. "I don't know what you're talking about," I lie. "Please, Mr. Sullivan. We both know the lieutenant governor doesn't visit farmers' markets in forgotten little towns without a reason. You reached out to him. Call him back. Tell him something came up. And if I don't, then I can't guarantee the safety of everyone at that market. Accidents happen when crowds get nervous. When security gets overzealous. My blood runs cold. You'd harm innocent people? Children? I'm simply pointing out the risks of mixing politics and business. Think about it, Mr. Sullivan. Really think. Is your pride worth putting all those people in danger?" The line goes dead. I stare at the phone in my hand, then back at the sedan still idling in my driveway. Pride. Is that what he thinks this is about? Maybe he's right. Maybe I should back down. Call Davis. Cancel everything. Let these thugs have their protection money. No one gets hurt. Except everyone gets hurt, slowly, over time. Mrs. Wilson losing her heating money. Mrs. Chun unable to pay Amy's tuition. Bob's grandchildren learning that bullies always win. I've seen what happens when good people do nothing. Seen it in war. Seen it in peace. The sedan's lights finally switch off, but remains in my driveway. Watching. Waiting. I shuffle to the kitchen table, ease myself into a chair. My service pistol gleams dully in the moonlight. Next to it sits my Medal of Honor, the ribbon faded after all these years. President Truman's words echo in my memory, above and beyond the call of duty. I pick up the phone again and dial a different number. Sheriff's Department. A tired voice answers. "Tom Jenkins, please. Tell him it's Joe Sullivan." A few minutes later, Jenkins comes on the line. "Joe, it's midnight. What's wrong?" "There's a car in my driveway. Been there over an hour." I'm concerned. Jenkins sighs. "Torino es semen." Can't see who's inside, but I'm an old man living alone. I feel threatened. "This isn't like you, Joe. Calling for help. I'm 90 years old, Tom. Too old to be stupid about this." A long pause. "I'll send a deputy out." "But Joe, you know they'll just come back tomorrow." One night of peace would be nice. After hanging up, I'll wait by the window. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulls in behind the sedan. A deputy gets out, approaches the car. Words are exchanged. Eventually, the sedan starts up and drives away, followed by the cruiser. Small victory. Very small. I make myself a cup of tea, settle into my worn armchair. Sleep won't come tonight. Too many memories stirred up. Too many ghosts. Dawn finds me still sitting there, watching the sunrise paint my fields gold. Sunday is coming fast. I need to be ready. I drive into town early, park outside the diner. My usual booth is taken, so I sit at the counter. Clara, the waitress who's worked here 30 years, brings me coffee without asking. "You look awful, Joe," she says, concern creasing her face. "Everything okay?" Before I can answer, the bell above the door jingles. Tim, the market manager, walks in, spots me, hesitates before approaching. "Morning, Tim," I say, keeping my voice neutral. "Coffee." He sits beside me, won't meet my eyes. "Joe, we need to talk. About your phone call to Frank Torino." His face reddens. "It's not what you think. He called me. Said things were getting out of hand because of you." Tim lowers his voice. "He mentioned your war record. Said you were unstable. Dangerous." I sip my coffee. "And you believed him." "I don't know what to believe anymore." Tim's voice cracks. "All I know is that people are scared. The Johnsons pulled out of Sunday's market. So did the Parkers. They're afraid there's going to be trouble." "There's already trouble, Tim. You just haven't been paying attention." He finally looks at me. "Is it true? About the lieutenant governor coming?" "Yes." "And your Medal of Honor?" "Korea?" "Also true." Tim runs a hand through his thinning hair. "Jesus, Joe. All these years, and I never knew. Never needed to know." Clara refills my cup, pretends not to listen. But small towns have no secrets. By noon, everyone will know about Sergeant Sullivan and his medal. "Joe," Tim says quietly, "Frank came to see me last night. After hours. Had his guys with him." I set down my cup. "Did they hurt you?" "No. Just talked." "But," he swallows hard, "they know things. About my daughter in college. Which dorm she lives in. Said accidents happen on campuses all the time." Cold anger spreads through my chest. "They threatened your daughter?" "Not directly. Just let me know they could find her." Tim's hands shake. "I gotta think about my family, Joe. I'm canceling Sunday's market." The diner suddenly feels very quiet. Several patrons are watching us now, pretending not to. "If you cancel," I say carefully, "they win. Not just Sunday. Every day after that. What choice do I have?" "We all have choices, Tim. Even when there are no good ones." He stands, drops a few dollars on the counter. "I'm sorry, Joe. I really am. But I'm not risking my daughter." I watch him leave, feeling the weight of decades pressing down on me. One by one, they'll all give in to fear. Can I blame them? I'm asking them to stand against dangerous men when I couldn't even protect Mrs. Wilson from having her flower money taken. Clara slides a plate of eggs in front of me that I didn't order. "On the house," she says. "You look like you need it." "Thanks, Clara." "For what it's worth," she continues, wiping the counter, "my Bobby's coming Sunday. With his friend from the VFW. I look up surprised. "The market's canceled." She snorts. "Like hell it is. Tim doesn't own that square. My Bobby says veterans stick together. Says they're all coming to support you." Hope flickers, fragile as a match in wind. "Clara, these aren't good men we're dealing with. Neither were the ones you fought in Korea, I expect." She pats my hand. "Eat your eggs, Joe. You'll need your strength." By the time I finish breakfast, my phone has 3 messages. Rachel from the cheese stand. Bob who sells honey. Mrs. Wilson. All saying the same thing. They'll be there Sunday, market or no market. Outside, I spot Vinny sitting in a parked car across the street. Watching me. I walk straight to my truck, ignoring him. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Driving home, I make one more call. Davis's private number. "It's getting complicated," I tell him when he answers. "The market manager is trying to cancel." "I heard," Davis replies. "My office was called this morning by your mayor. Seems there are security concerns about my visit." My heart sinks. They got to the mayor too. "Joe, are you sure about this? These people sound serious. That's why we need to stop them now, before they own the whole town." A long pause. "All right, Sunday's still on. I'm bringing extra security. But Joe, be careful. My people say this Torino outfit doesn't mess around." "Neither do we," I reply, thinking of Clara's husband and his VFW friends. "Neither do we." At home, I find my front door ajar. Rusty meets me, tail wagging, unharmed. But someone's been inside. Nothing obvious is missing. They weren't here to steal. In my bedroom, I find what they came for. My military trunk is open. Service records scattered. The Medal of Honor case empty. On my pillow sits a folded note. "A medal doesn't make you bulletproof, old man." I sit heavily on the bed, hands shaking. Not from fear. From anger. Pure, clarifying anger I haven't felt since Korea. They've crossed the line. Invaded my home. Stolen something sacred. Something earned with blood. I reach for the phone, dial Sheriff Jenkins. Someone broke into my house. I tell him. Stole my Medal of Honor. I'll send someone out, he promises. But Joe, I know. No proof who did it. I was going to say, be careful. If they took that specific item, it's a message. Message received, I reply. After hanging up, I open my closet, push aside hanging clothes. Behind them is a small safe embedded in the wall. My fingers work the combination from memory. Inside is a small box containing my service pistol ammunition. I haven't touched it in decades. I take out a single bullet, roll it between my fingers. I won't use it. Probably. But after today, I need to be ready. For anything. Sunday is coming. And with it, a showdown 70 years in the making. Not against North Korean soldiers this time. Against men who think fear is power. Who think old means weak. They took my medal, but they don't understand what it represents. What I'm capable of. They will. The Sunday morning sun rises blood red over my tomato fields. I've been awake for hours, watching darkness give way to dawn. My hands are steady as I button my best shirt, navy blue with subtle stripes. For the first time in decades, I pin my other medals to my chest. Bronze Star, Purple Heart. The Medal of Honor is missing, of course. Stolen by Torino's men. Rusty whines at my feet, sensing something different about today. I scratch behind his ears. It'll be okay, boy, I tell him, though I'm far from certain. My phone buzzes with messages from market vendors. Despite Tim's cancellation, they're setting up, standing their ground. Beside my truck sits the wooden crate of tomatoes I picked at first light, each one perfect. Maybe my last harvest, if things go badly today. The drive to town feels longer than usual. Each familiar bend in the road, each farmhouse and field takes on new significance. This is my home, has been for 45 years, since I left the service and sought quiet after too much noise. The market square looks different today. Fewer stalls than normal, maybe half the usual vendors. But those who've come have brought reinforcements. Clara's husband, Bobby, stands with 3 other older men, all wearing VFW caps. Mrs. Wilson's nephews help at her flower stand. Even Mrs. Chun has her cousins from the next county over. And parked discreetly at various spots around the square are 4 black SUVs with government plates. Davis's security team already in position. I park my truck and start unloading my tomatoes. Rachel hurries over from her cheese stand to help. Should you be wearing those? She asks, nodding at my medals. Might make you more of a target. That's the plan, I reply. Her eyes widen. Joe, no. We need you safe. What we need is for those men to focus on me instead of all of you. I straighten a row of tomatoes. Where's Tim? Haven't seen him. Word is he took his wife and drove to his daughter's college last night, getting her somewhere safe. Smart man. I can't blame him. The lieutenant governor? I ask. Not here yet, but his people are. She nods toward a fit-looking man in casual clothes examining produce 3 stalls down. Too alert, too watchful to be a regular customer. They've been here since dawn. The market opens officially at 9. By 8:30, customers start trickling in, fewer than normal but steady. Some have clearly come to support us after hearing rumors. Others seem oblivious to the tension in the air. At 9:15, my phone buzzes. A text from Davis, 15 minutes out. I send Rachel to spread the word quietly. Vendors straighten their displays. Bobby and his VFW friends position themselves strategically around the square. 9:25. No sign of Torino or his men. The normal market buzz builds. People buying cheese, honey, flowers. Examining my tomatoes with care. 9:30. A convoy of 3 black SUVs pulls into the square. The middle one stops directly in front of the market entrance. Lieutenant Governor Davis steps out, flanked by plainclothes security. At 75, Davis is still imposing. Tall, silver-haired, with the bearing of a military man turned politician. He spots me immediately, makes his way through the crowd. Sergeant Sullivan, he says formally, extending his hand. Cameras flash as county newspaper reporters capture the moment. Lieutenant Governor. We shake hands, a firm grip between old soldiers. Been a long time, Davis says, his voice carrying just enough for nearby people to hear. Not since Korea. More cameras flash. The reporters move closer. It has, I agree. Thank you for coming. Davis looks around the market, taking in the reduced number of stalls, the watchful eyes of his security team, the VFW veterans standing guard. He understands the situation immediately. I wouldn't miss it, he says meaningfully. After all, how often do I get to visit with a Medal of Honor recipient? The words hang in the air. Several nearby shoppers turn to stare at me. The reporter's interest visibly increases. Davis continues, voice projecting. Where is your medal today, Sergeant? I'd have expected you to wear it for an occasion like this. Before I can answer, a smooth voice cuts through the morning air. Perhaps he misplaced it. Frank Torino strolls into the market, immaculately dressed, as always. Marco and Vinny flank him, with two new men I don't recognize bringing up the rear. 5 of them total. They move with casual confidence, as if they own the place. Davis's security team tenses visibly. One speaks quietly into his wrist mic. Mr. Sullivan, Frank says, nodding to me, then turning to Davis. Lieutenant Governor, what an honor to have you visit our humble market. Davis's smile is pure politician, all teeth, no warmth. I never miss an opportunity to support local agriculture or to visit with genuine American heroes. Frank's eyes narrow slightly at the pointed remark. Indeed, though sometimes heroes become confused in their old age, start seeing enemies everywhere. And sometimes, Davis counters smoothly, they recognize dangerous men even when they're wearing expensive suits. The tension crackles like static electricity. Market goers sense it, moving away from our small group, creating an impromptu circle. Davis's security people edge closer. Frank maintains his smile, but his eyes have gone cold. I'm simply a businessman, Lieutenant Governor, here to shop like everyone else. He turns to me, though I did want to return something to Mr. Sullivan, something he seems to have misplaced. Reaching into his jacket pocket, Frank pulls out my Medal of Honor. The morning sun catches its surface, making it gleam. Several gasps rise from the watching crowd. I believe this is yours, Frank says loudly, holding it up for everyone to see. Found it lying in the street yesterday. Terrible shame, treating such an honor so carelessly. The calculated insult hangs in the air. I feel Davis stiffen beside me. See his security team exchange glances. That medal, Davis says, voice sharp as winter ice, was awarded for actions above and beyond the call of duty. For saving 16 men, including me, behind enemy lines in Korea. Frank shrugs. Impressive, though I wonder if his memory of events is accurate. After all, at his age, he lets the insinuation dangle. His memory is perfect, Davis snaps. As is mine, as are the official military records. The watching crowd has grown. Reporters are filming now. This is becoming exactly what I wanted. A public confrontation where Torino can't hide behind threats and intimidation. Frank seems to realize it too. His smile falters slightly. Well, memories aside, I'm just glad to return this precious item. He holds the medal out to me. Please, Mr. Sullivan, take better care of it in the future. I don't move to take it. That medal was in a locked display case in my home, until someone broke in and stole it. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Frank's expression doesn't change, but Vinny shifts uncomfortably behind him. Serious accusation, Frank says, especially without proof. The sheriff's department has my report. I reply. Break-in. Theft of a military decoration. Federal offense, as I understand it. Frank's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. He didn't know I'd filed a report. Thought I'd be too afraid or too proud. Well, he says finally. However it happened, I'm returning it now. No harm done. Davis steps forward. Mr. Torino, is it? Perhaps you'd like to explain how you came to possess a Medal of Honor that was reported stolen. Frank's smile is strained now. As I said, found it in the street. Pure coincidence. Quite a coincidence, Davis agrees. My office received several calls yesterday about your organization's activities in this community. Allegations of threats, extortion, harassment, baseless rumors, Frank says dismissively. We're legitimate businessmen offering protection services. Protection from what? Exactly. Davis presses. Frank's eyes dart to his men, then back. The world's a dangerous place, Lieutenant Governor. Even in small towns. Yes, Davis agrees. It is. He nods toward one of his security people, who speaks into his wrist mic again. From all sides of the market square, men and women in windbreakers with FBI stenciled across the back appear, moving purposefully toward our group. Frank's face drains of color. What is this? This, Davis says calmly, is what happens when you threaten a Medal of Honor recipient in my state. Marco moves suddenly, reaching inside his jacket. Two of Davis's security team draw weapons with practice speed. Don't, one warns sharply. Marco freezes, then slowly raises his hands. The FBI agents converge on Frank and his men. The lead agent steps forward. Francis Torino, we have a warrant for your arrest on suspicion of racketeering, extortion, and interstate threats. Frank's composure cracks. This is harassment. I have rights. Yes, you do, the agent agrees, producing handcuffs. And we'll be sure to read them to you. As the agents begin cuffing Frank's group, he fixes me with a venomous stare. This isn't over, old man. Not by a long shot. I hold his gaze steadily. Actually, I think it is. The FBI lead agent approaches me, holding out an evidence bag. Mr. Sullivan, we'll need that medal as evidence. The one he tried to return to you. Frank's smile returns, cold and confident. Yes, Mr. Sullivan. Hand it over. His meaning is clear. Without the medal as evidence that he possessed stolen property, their case weakens significantly. I look down at the medal still in Frank's cuffed hands. My fingers close around it, feeling its familiar weight. For a moment, I'm back in Korea, the coldest night of my life, carrying Davis through enemy territory, both of us barely alive. I can't, I say finally. The FBI agent frowns. Sir, it's important evidence. No, I correct gently. I can't give you this medal because it's not mine. Frank's triumphant smile freezes. I turn the medal over, revealing the engraving on the back. A different name, a different war. Vietnam, not Korea. My Medal of Honor, I explain, has my name on it. Joseph Sullivan. This one belongs to someone else. I look directly at Frank, which means whoever broke into my house stole the wrong medal from my collection. Frank's face contorts with rage. You set me up. The FBI agent takes the medal carefully. Possession of any stolen Medal of Honor is a federal offense, regardless of whose it is. He looks at me curiously. You have someone else's medal? I run a small veterans museum in my barn, I explain, for local schools. That medal was donated by the recipient's widow last year for educational purposes. Davis claps me on the shoulder, grinning. Always the strategist, Joe, even after all these years. As the FBI leads Frank and his men away, the market erupts in applause. Vendors and customers alike surround me, offering congratulations. Thanks. Mrs. Wilson hugs me tightly. You saved us, Joe. We saved ourselves, I correct her, by standing together. Rachel pushes through the crowd, eyes wide. Joe, the reporters want interviews. With you and the lieutenant governor. Davis chuckles. What do you say, Sergeant? Ready to be a hero again? I shake my head. I'm just a farmer who's late getting back to his tomatoes. The crowd laughs, but there's respect in their eyes now. Not for my medals or my age, but for something else. Something I'd forgotten I still had inside me. As the excitement continues around us, Davis pulls me aside. That was a damn clever trap, he says quietly. But Joe, men like Torino have connections. Even with the FBI involved, this might not be over. I nod, watching as the black FBI vehicles pull away from the market square. I know, but for today we won. Worth the risk. I look around at the market coming back to life. Mrs. Chun selling vegetables. Mrs. Wilson arranging her flowers. Bobby and his VFW friends standing tall and proud. Always as I tell him, to protect what matters. As Davis moves away to give his statement to the press, I notice Vinny being led to a separate FBI vehicle. He locks eyes with me briefly. Mouths two words I can read clearly. Not over. A chill runs through me despite the warm morning. Maybe he's right. Maybe this is just the beginning of a new battle, not the end of an old one. But for now, the market is safe. My neighbors can breathe easier. And somewhere in my bedside drawer, my real Medal of Honor waits safely. A reminder that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we choose to fight when we could simply walk away. I straighten my remaining medals, pick up an empty tomato crate. There's work to be done, customers to serve. And tomorrow? Tomorrow will take care of itself. Look who's joined the party. Marco laughs, spotting me frozen in the doorway. My heart nearly jumps out of my chest as both men turn to face me. The living room I've kept tidy for decades is now a disaster. Cushions slashed open, drawers dumped onto the floor, and my most precious memories scattered like trash. Vinny holds up my Medal of Honor, dangling it between his thick fingers like it's some cheap necklace from a gumball machine. This real gold, old-timer, he asks, giving a little shake. Might be worth something after all. The sight of his dirty fingers on my medal sends a hot wave through my old bones. That medal traveled with me from the frozen hills of Korea to this quiet farmhouse. President Truman himself placed it in my trembling hands while families of my fallen brothers watched with tear-filled eyes. That was awarded to me by President Truman himself. I say, my voice coming out steadier than I feel. For saving 16 men in Korea when we were surrounded by thousands of Chinese soldiers in temperatures so cold our blood nearly froze. Their laughter fades slightly. For just a moment, I see uncertainty cross their faces. Young men like these have never known real danger, not the kind where your breath turns to ice and your friends die in your arms. I take another step forward, my old knees surprisingly strong now. The men I saved were sons, brothers, and fathers. That medal isn't just metal, it's their lives. Marco glances nervously at Vinny, but quickly puffs up his chest again. Bullies always need to look tough, even when they're starting to worry. You know what else? I continue pushing my advantage. Tomorrow, the lieutenant governor, my friend, will be at the market with state police. You boys picked the wrong farmer to threaten. Marco's face twitches. For a split second, I think I've gotten through to them. Maybe they'll return my medal and disappear back to whatever hole Frank keeps them in. But then Marco's eyes harden. Nice try, Gramps. Boss says you're bluffing about knowing the lieutenant governor. He steps toward me, raising his fist. Time to teach you what happens to people who don't respect Frank's business. I brace myself for the blow, too old to dodge, but too stubborn to flinch. I've faced worse than this two-bit thug. But suddenly, Marco freezes. We all turn toward the window as bright headlights flood the room through the thin curtains. The crunch of tires on my gravel driveway seems impossibly loud in the silent room. Vinny stuffs my medal into his pocket, his face pale. That'll be Frank, he mutters, looking both relieved and worried at the same time. Marco grabs my arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to leave bruises on my paper-thin skin. Listen up, old man. You say one word about us being here, and next time we won't just take a stupid medal. But as we watch through the window, I realize the car pulling up isn't Frank's fancy black sedan. The red and blue lights are dim, but unmistakable. It's a state police cruiser. This changes nothing. Marco hisses in my ear, his breath hot and smelling of cigarettes. We'll be back when your friend leaves. He shoves me hard against the wall, making my back scream in pain. Don't forget, Frank knows where you live. They slip out the back door like shadows, taking my medal with them. My legs finally give out, and I slide down the wall to sit among the ruins of my living room as knocking echoes from the front door. I take 3 deep breaths, the way we were taught before going into battle. My hands shake worse than they did at Chosen Reservoir as I pull myself up using the doorframe. Whatever happens next, I need to face it standing up. I open the door expecting to see a police officer, but instead find young Amy Chun, my neighbor's daughter. Her eyes are wide with fear, her cell phone clutched tightly in her hand. "Mr. Sullivan," she cries. "I was driving home from my late class and saw men breaking into your house. I called 911 right away." Only then do I notice the police cruiser wasn't responding to me at all. It was just passing by and responded to Amy's call. As the officer approaches with flashlight in hand, I face a choice that feels heavier than any I made in war. Report everything and risk Frank's crew returning with greater vengeance when police protection inevitably ends, or stay silent and handle these mobsters my own way. The officer's boots crunch on my porch steps. Amy looks at me with complete trust in her young eyes. Behind us, my home lies in shambles, but my mind has never been clearer. "Sir, are you Joseph Sullivan?" the officer asks, shining his flashlight quickly around my entryway before lowering it. His name tag reads Officer Powell, and he can't be more than 30, younger than my favorite apple tree. "Yes, that's me," I reply, standing as straight as my old back allows. Behind Officer Powell, Amy hovers anxiously, her phone still in her hand. "Your neighbor here reported a possible break-in. Are you okay? Is anyone else in the house?" Before I can answer, Amy bursts out, "I saw 2 men, officer. They were wearing dark clothes, and they didn't use the front door." Officer Powell's hand moves instinctively toward his gun. "Sir, I need to check your home. Please stay here with Miss Chun." As he steps past me, I make my decision. "Officer, there were men here," I admit, my voice low. "But they're gone now. Out the back door when they saw your lights." Powell pauses, suddenly more alert. "Did you recognize them? Did they take anything?" The weight of my missing Medal of Honor feels heavier than when I wore it. I think of Frank's connections, of Amy's safety, of tomorrow's plan with the lieutenant governor that could all be ruined if Frank gets arrested tonight and replaced by someone we don't know. Just some cash I had in a drawer. I lie, hating the taste of it. I didn't see their faces clearly. These old eyes aren't what they used to be. Amy looks confused. "But Mr. Sullivan," I cut her off with a gentle touch on her arm. "Amy, thank you for calling the police. You're a brave girl. But I'm fine, just a little shaken up." Officer Powell spends 20 minutes searching my house and taking notes about my stolen cash. He promises to patrol the area tonight, but doesn't seem hopeful about catching random burglars. I watch from my porch as he drives away, leaving Amy and me alone in the glow of my porch light. "Why didn't you tell him the truth?" Amy asks immediately. Her parents came to America from China when she was just a baby. Maybe that's why she notices things others miss. She learned early to watch carefully. I sigh, suddenly feeling every one of my 90 years. Sometimes the police can't help with certain problems, Amy. Those men were the same ones from the market, weren't they? The ones harassing Mrs. Wilson and the other vendors. Amy isn't asking. She's stating a fact. I nod slowly. "You should go home now. It's late, and your parents will be worried." Instead of leaving, Amy helps me back inside and gasps at the mess. Without asking permission, she starts picking up books and putting cushions back in place. "I'm not leaving you alone like this, Mr. Sullivan." For the next hour, we work together straightening up my small living room. I don't have the heart to tell her it doesn't matter, that Frank and his boys will be back. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. As Amy arranges the last of my fallen photo frames, her hand pauses on one dusty picture. "Is this you?" she asks, studying the black and white image of 2 young soldiers, arms around each other's shoulders, mountains rising behind them. "That's me and Richard Davis in Korea," I explain, taking the photo gently. "Before he became lieutenant governor. Before either of us knew if we'd make it home." Amy's eyes widen. "You really do know him? The mobsters weren't sure if you were telling the truth." I freeze. "You heard them." She nods. "I got here before the police. I was outside your kitchen window when I heard them threatening you." Her voice drops to a whisper. I recorded some of it on my phone. My hands start to tremble as I sink into my recliner. This changes everything. With evidence like that, we could put Frank away before he hurts anyone else. But if anything happened to Amy because of it, "Amy, those are dangerous men," I tell her, trying to keep my voice calm. "They have friends in high places." "So do you," she says simply, pointing at the photo. "And I bet Lieutenant Governor Davis would want to help his friend." The old rotary phone in my kitchen suddenly rings, making us both jump. At this hour, it can only be one person. I'd called Davis earlier, before the break-in. Amy helps me to the kitchen where I lift the heavy receiver. "Joe Sullivan, comes the familiar voice I haven't heard in decades. My God, it's been forever. I got your message and had to call back right away. Relief floods through me. But before I can explain my situation, Amy grabs my arm and points frantically toward the back door. Even with my bad hearing, I catch the unmistakable sound of glass breaking somewhere in the house. Richard, I whisper urgently into the phone, I need your help. Now, Amy is already dialing 911 again, but we both know help won't arrive in time. In the darkness of my kitchen, I make a decision that will either save us or put us in greater danger. I motion for Amy to follow me to the basement door, the one place the mobsters haven't searched yet. As we quietly descend the creaky stairs, I can hear heavy footsteps above us. Frank has sent someone back, maybe to clean up loose ends, maybe to search more thoroughly. Either way, Amy and I have only minutes to hide the evidence she's collected and figure out how to survive until morning. In the dim light of the basement, my eyes fall on something I haven't touched in decades. My old army footlocker pushed against the wall. Inside isn't just memories of war, but perhaps our only chance against the war now coming to my doorstep. My old army footlocker creaks open, revealing treasures from another life. Amy gasps as I lift out my service pistol, still wrapped in oiled cloth after all these years. The weight of it feels both strange and familiar in my hands. Mr. Sullivan, are you allowed to have that? Amy whispers, her eyes wide in the dim basement light. Some things a soldier never leaves behind. I reply softly, checking that it's unloaded before tucking it into my waistband. And some fights follow you home. Heavy footsteps move directly above us. Dust sprinkles down from the ceiling as whoever Frank sent searches my house room by room. Amy's phone glows as she checks her recording. Our only real evidence against these criminals. We need to get this to the police, she mouths silently. I shake my head and point to the small basement window near the ceiling. It's our only way out without going back upstairs. I've never been more thankful for staying skinny in my old age. You first, I whisper, lifting an old crate beneath the window. Run to the Petersons' farm. Don't look back. Amy hesitates. I'm not leaving you. Before I can argue, the basement door at the top of the stairs rattles. We freeze like statues as a flashlight beam cuts through the darkness, searching. Every muscle in my body tenses, ready for whatever comes next. The night passes in a blur of hiding and waiting. By dawn, Amy and I have made it safely to the Petersons' farm, where Sheriff Thompson takes our statements, looking grimmer with each word. The recording on Amy's phone is clear as day. Marco and Vinny threatening an old man, admitting to Frank's protection racket. This is bigger than our little department. Joe, Thompson admits his coffee going cold. These guys have connections in the city. But with the lieutenant governor coming today, morning arrives with market day in full swing. The farmer stalls burst with summer produce. My empty spot the only gap in the cheerful row. No sign of Frank or his goons yet, but several plainclothes officers mingle with shoppers. Lieutenant Governor Davis kept his promise after our midnight call. I stand behind my pickup truck, hidden from view, watching. Sheriff Thompson insisted I stay away until Davis arrives with state police, but I couldn't miss this. My best shirt feels stiff and uncomfortable, my Medal of Honor, the original now stolen, replaced with my backup medal from the display case, pinned proudly on my chest for the first time in years. Quite a story you told, Davis. Officer Reynolds says quietly beside me. Unlike the local police, Reynolds is state police sent ahead by the lieutenant governor. He's pulling strings to get the FBI involved. These guys have been running protection rackets across 3 counties. I nod, watching shoppers move from stall to stall. Mrs. Wilson looks nervous at her flower stand, jumping each time someone approaches. The other vendors keep glancing toward the parking lot. Everyone knows something is about to happen. Remember, stay out of sight until... Reynolds starts, but stops mid-sentence. A familiar black sedan pulls into the lot. My heart pounds as Frank emerges alone, looking casual in expensive sunglasses. He straightens his tie, surveys the market, and strolls in like he owns the place. Well, look who decided to show up after all, Reynolds mutters. Stay here, Mr. Sullivan. But the minute Reynolds moves away to alert the other officers, I find myself walking forward like I'm being pulled by an invisible string. Some fights you can't watch from the sidelines. I step into the market just as Frank reaches Mrs. Wilson's stall. She looks up at him, terror washing over her kind face. Something inside me snaps. "Frank!" I call out, my voice carrying across the market. Heads turn. Frank freezes, then slowly turns to face me. "Well, if it isn't the hero," Frank says, approaching with measured steps, hands in his expensive suit pockets. He looks different today, controlled, dangerous, like a snake coiled to strike. Didn't expect the old farmer to have friends in high places. His smile doesn't reach his eyes as he leans closer. "But here's what you should know. I have friends too." He discreetly pulls out his phone, showing me a screen with a photo that makes my blood run cold. It's Amy Chun at her college campus, unaware she's being photographed. A man in a dark jacket stands nearby, watching her. "Brave girl," Frank says softly. "Shame if something happened to her before she graduates." My fingers tighten into fists at my sides. I open my mouth to respond, but before I can say a word, a booming voice cuts through the market chatter. Joe Sullivan, the man who dragged me through frozen hell in Korea." Lieutenant Governor Davis appears, striding toward us with a wide smile and open arms. He looks older than in our war photos, his hair silver and thin, but his voice still carries the same command that once ordered men through enemy lines. Frank stiffens beside me, clearly recognizing Davis from television. His eyes dart toward the parking lot, calculating his escape. "Richard," I say, clasping his outstretched hand. "It's been too long." Davis spots my medal immediately, his face lighting up. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announces to the curious market-goers gathering around us. "This man saved 16 soldiers at Chosin Reservoir, carried me 2 miles through Chinese gunfire with a bullet in his own leg." The crowd forms a respectful circle around us. Frank tries to slip away, but bumps straight into Officer Reynolds, who now stands directly behind him. "Going somewhere?" Reynolds asks quietly. I lock eyes with Frank as understanding dawns on his face. He looks around the market, now noticing what I already knew, those shoppers with earpieces, the vendors suddenly standing taller, the unmarked police cars blocking the exits. The market isn't just filled with customers, but with undercover officers who've been gathering evidence all morning from intimidated vendors now willing to talk. Frank's hand moves toward his pocket. I tense, thinking of his phone and the threat to Amy. But Reynolds is faster, gripping Frank's wrist. "I wouldn't," he says calmly. "We have men watching Miss Chin too. Our men." As Frank is discreetly handcuffed, I feel Lieutenant Governor Davis's hand on my shoulder. "Your call saved lives, Joe," he says quietly. "They found guns in Frank's car. This wasn't just about money today." I nod, watching as Frank is led away. But even as relief washes over me, I can't help wondering about Marco and Vinny and my stolen medal. The next morning's sunrise finds me sitting on my porch swing, a cup of coffee warming my gnarled hands. The events at the market still feel like a dream. Frank in handcuffs, vendors cheering, Lieutenant Governor Davis promising a special commendation for my service to the community. The screen door squeaks open as Sheriff Thompson steps out, looking like he hasn't slept all night. "Just got word from State Police," he says, settling his heavy frame into the chair beside me. "They picked up Marco and Vinny trying to skip town. Frank's talking to save himself, giving up names, locations, everything." I nod, sipping my coffee. "And the others?" Frank mentioned having friends in high places. Thompson's tired face breaks into a rare smile. 2 judges and a city councilman arrested at dawn. FBI's been building a case for months. Your market situation was the final piece they needed. The news should make me happy, but there's still a hollow feeling in my chest. Thompson seems to understand without me saying a word. "They didn't find your medal, Joe. Marco claims he lost it running from your house that night." I stare out at my tomato fields, trying to hide my disappointment. That medal survived war, followed me home, reminded me daily of the men who didn't make it back. Now it's probably lying in a ditch somewhere or pawned for drinking money. Some things can't be replaced, I say finally. Thompson nods and rises to leave. Amy Chen's parents called. She's back at college with police watching over her, just in case. Brave kid. Too brave sometimes, I agree. After Thompson leaves, I spend the morning tending my garden. At 90, my back protests every bend and reach, but the familiar work soothes my mind. By noon, the market would normally be bustling with weekend shoppers, but today it's closed, a crime scene still being processed. The crunch of tires on my gravel driveway pulls me from my thoughts. A sleek black car pulls up, but it's not Frank's sedan. This one has government plates. Lieutenant Governor Davis steps out, followed by a young aide carrying a wooden box. They make their way across my yard as I wipe dirt from my hands onto my overalls. "Richard," I greet him surprised. "Thought you'd be back in the state capitol by now." Davis smiles, clasping my shoulder. "Some things are more important than meetings, Joe." He nods to the aide, who steps forward with a wooden box. "Open it," Davis encourages. Inside, nestled on blue velvet, lies a Medal of Honor, shining new, official. My breath catches in my throat. "Called in some favors at the Pentagon," Davis explains. "Told them how yours was stolen while you were protecting your community. They expedited a replacement." I lift the medal carefully, feeling its weight. It's identical to my original, yet somehow different. The young aide snaps a photo as Davis places it around my neck, just as President Truman did all those years ago. "Thank you," I manage to say, though the words feel inadequate. Davis isn't finished. From his pocket, he pulls out a small plastic evidence bag. "There's something else. They found this during the search of Frank's office." My heart nearly stops as he tips the contents into my palm. My original medal, slightly scratched but intact. The familiar weight of it brings tears to my eyes. "Ow," I whisper. "Frank kept it as a trophy," Davis explains. "Thought it would make a good story to tell his criminal friends. How he took a Medal of Honor from a war hero." That afternoon, reporters gather at my farm. I stand awkwardly for their cameras, both medals now displayed in my living room behind me. Davis makes a speech about courage and community, about how one farmer stood up to organize crime. What the cameras don't capture is Amy Chun, slipping quietly through my back door during the commotion. She places a small card on my kitchen table before disappearing again. Inside is a photo of her graduating class and a simple message: "Some fights are worth fighting. Thank you for teaching me that." After everyone leaves, I return to my garden. The tomatoes need staking, the beans need picking. Tomorrow, the market will reopen, and I'll be there with my vegetables, nodding to Mrs. Wilson next door as always. At 90, I've fought another battle worth fighting. Frank's organization will crumble without him. Amy and the other vendors are safe. My medals hang once again in their place of honor. And me? I'm just an old farmer with a story to tell, ready for another season of growing the best damn tomatoes in the county. Some heroes wear uniforms. Some just wear overalls. But we all stand up when it matters most.